And backed by popular demand, we have a video on parts process and how we do parts in our shops. And it's not by popular demand. Actually, we don't even have a video on this. So this is the first one. And I think I'm gonna cover just the overall basics of how parts come. So parts, when you sell a job, I'm just gonna say sale, and I hope you see that. See, you can see that, yep. Then what happens is somebody goes on the handy dandy computer, that's our computer, and they will check parts and see if they have it. They'll see if they have the parts, what the price is, who has it, and then ideally what you wanna do is you wanna call the vendor, my phone, and say, hey, can you bring the price down? And can you hurry up? And generally you can do that with most of the vendors. I would say about 80% of the vendors you can do that with. And the goal here should be to bring the price down. I would just say 20% down. And you can do this with 80% of the vendors. So this is a big deal, guys, because when you do this, it really makes a big difference in your overall parts cost at the end of the week, which makes a big difference in your paycheck. The next step is somebody brings the part. Now, the part, there's two parts, right? There is the part and then there's the paperwork. The part goes on the shelf. Part goes on shelf. There's a part shelf for new parts that'll say new. And some of your guys' shops will even have the vendors like AutoZone new, Maxi new, so on and so forth. And then the other part is the invoice for the part that you ordered, and that goes into the bin. You have a bin in each of your shops, and the bin, you have to get that invoice in the bin. Now, we're gonna focus on, obviously the part, it goes to the technician, they figure it out. What you wanna do is you wanna move the magnet. We'll get into that in the board video, but I wanna focus here on what you do with this invoice. This is a big deal. This invoice right here is gonna be, what you do with this invoice is gonna either make it hell or heaven for you. So let's talk about what you do with that invoice. The invoice, when it comes in, it goes in the bin, and the first thing you wanna do is, if you're the parts manager, or the FCA, I think we're changing the names to parts manager because you can do a lot more parts. This is your realm. That invoice first goes into Techmetric. You have to find the RO number, and you have to put it into Techmetric, and you have to put it into the appropriate job on the Techmetric screen under invoice, the estimate. Once that's done, you want to put it together with a clipboard for the RO. This is huge, guys. You want to do this because when you have the invoice of this is pretty much your clipboard here. And the clipboard consists of the RO, which is what you've printed. Then you have all the parts receipts, all parts receipts. And then and also the RO has the inspection on it, right? Technician notes, etc. All parts receipts, it includes tows and all the vendors that are associated with this RO number. And then finally, once you catch out the customer, you print an invoice copy for us and you have them sign it, and then that invoice goes on top of it. And in this order, it actually goes invoice, RO, and all the parts at the end. So when you do that, you have this little packet, and at the end of the day, you make, as you guys know on the end of the day process, you have each of these ROs, which has the invoice, the RO, and all the parts. And before you do that again, step number 1 is you put it into Techmetric. Step number 2, you put it with the RO. Step number 3, you put it with the daily report. And step number 4, you scan it all. So that's why I don't use staples. So once again, to recap, the parts manager, you get that invoice. Number 1, you put it into Techmetric. So you have to insert or type it into Techmetric, and what's the word they use for that? Check in the parts. Check in, and you have to check in the part that you guys ordered up here into Techmetric. Now, I will talk more about that in a subsequent video because we do use our parts process into Techmetric, and when you check in the part, it shows received, and after all that is good and great, then only then can you put it into the physical clipboard and then the daily report and the scan. So let's recap all of this because I've been all over the place on this. Number 1, when the invoice comes here, this is really what I want you to take it away. The parts invoice has to get checked in to Techmetric. We'll just say Tech. Number 2, once it's checked in, you want to put it with the proper, and remember that already the check-in process will take care of itself because when you ordered the part, you used Techmetric to quote it, and then you knew when you went to go quote the part, you knew how much it was and who had it, so you were able to put it on the estimate screen back then. But it doesn't show received, right? You have the number, the vendor, the dollar amount, right? And the part, obvious part. So you have these 3 things on the estimate screen already taken care of. So when the part receives, you take that invoice, you check it into Techmetric, and then you take that invoice and you put it in with the RO. And then finally, the RO and invoice gets scanned at the end of the day with the daily report. Now, We're going to talk about in the subsequent video about how do we do reconciliation. This is the whole check-in process. As you saw in this up here, this is the parts, really it's the check-in process that we just talked about. And because this video is getting too long, I'm going to talk about the reconciliation and how our back office makes sure that we're paying for parts we're actually using and that no one's stealing parts from us and you're getting warranties and returns. We'll talk about that in the next video. Thank you very much.